Hi, I'm Bob, and this is my guide to setting up the FMC in PMDG's MD-11. I'm going to start with the airplane cold and dark, no power at all, and take you through setting up an example flight from Cincinnati to New York. Um, so we'll pull up the cockpit here. As you can see, no power. So the first step is to turn on the battery. And then after that, we're going to connect ARM emergency power, which what that does is that brings up your displays. Starts bringing up some of your displays. From there, we're going to bring up the FMS, go to the FS action shortcuts and ground connections, and we're going to connect external power. You can do this from the PMDG menu, I believe, or by setting up hotkeys, but I think the FMS is by far the easiest way to do it. So now you can see we've got available lit up on external power, which and also for galley external power because that's a separate bus from it's a separate connection on the airplane. So now that we've got power, we're going to start setting up the FMC and getting ready to go. First step is to start the IRUs aligning. The IRS is the inertial reference system, and that takes about 10 minutes to align. So the first thing you do when you get power is you want to start that aligning because the aircraft cannot move while they are aligning. So you don't want to sit around waiting for that. So once you've got those aligning, you go to the FMC, and it wants you to align the IRS, which is basically tell it where we are. It needs to have a starting point. So you go to your init page, and it's got initialize IRS right here with a star by it. Any line with a star by it means that clicking the key next to it will perform some action. In this case, that's it's going to give the inertial reference system our current GPS fix, which is the default method of getting a base fix for the MD-11. And so when we do that, now the navigation systems knows where it is, and it's going to go ahead aligning. The next step is we want to start refueling, and you can do this through the at the beginning through PMDG's menu, but I kind of like to do it with the FMS. And to do that, what we're going to do, we want about 70,000 pounds of fuel. So we're going to type in 70 and upload it to the refuel quantity line here. And then we're going to go back to the FS shortcuts, go to refueling, and if we hit this bottom right key a couple of times to where it says FMS and tell it to start, it's going to start filling on its own, as you can see right here. And if you look up at the fuel panel, you can see it's we're loading fuel right now. So we can let that proceed, and so now we got everything that's taking time is going right now. So hopefully we won't have to wait for it. So now we're going to go back to our init page. We're going to start. Now's the time to start entering the flight plan. So there's basically two ways you can do this. This FMC is really awesome in that, for one thing, it comes with a lot of preloaded routes, and it will also look in your saved flight plans created by Flight Sim or whatever external flight planning software you have, and try to load up those files so you don't have to enter it manually. So, like, say we're going from, and also if you hit the down here and light up this keyboard light, if you click on the bottom left, it makes it so whatever you type in on the keyboard is entered into the FMC, so you don't have to bother clicking everything. But yeah, like let's say we're going to case from Cincinnati to Atlanta. That's a pretty common route. And so it has a built-in flight plan for that. And so we don't have to do much at all. We still have to figure the approach and the runways we're using. But as far as the basic waypoints on the way there, that's already taken care of for us, which is really nice. But, you don't have to do that. If you want to do it manually, so let's say from KCVG to KJFK. It does not have a saved route for that, so we're going to have to do that one manually. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Flight number, that's whatever you want it to be. And now this cruise levels is pretty cool. You only have to enter one, but what that does is as you burn fuel, your optimum flight level goes up. And so usually you operate on 2,000 foot steps through the flight, and as you reach as your optimum flight level gets halfway between, you'll climb 2,000 feet to maintain the most efficient flying performance you can. And so we're going to go with 370 and 390, we'll say. And so when we upload that, what that'll do is along the route, it'll calculate when the best time is to climb, and then we can contact ATC and ask for permission to climb to a higher flight level. Our cost index, that is basically the ratio of how much time costs to how much gas costs. So the higher that number, the faster and less efficient the plane will fly. Since flight sim gas is free, I usually put a high number there because I'm impatient, and so 99 is a good way to go. Alternate route and alternate, those are optional, but you can put those in as well. So let's see, we're gonna go to weight in it next. The computer needs performance data to figure climb rates and V speeds and that sort of thing. We know the first line is the amount of fuel on board, usable fuel on board. It's got 53 because we're halfway through refueling, but we can go ahead and put in 70.0 because that's how much it's going to be. ZFW is zero fuel weight. And you can pull these up manually through PMDG's menu, or I think you can use the Flight Sim Load Manager. You just can't use the Fuel Manager. But if you want, you can just right-click on this line key and then left-click it, and it'll give you the correct values. And so if you do that for these other two lines, now the computer's got all the performance data it needs for it's got So the next step is to give it and it goes and calculates your optimal flight level, which is 380. So it's going to go up to, so we're going to climb to 390 pretty quickly. But I'll leave it there. So now this is our flight plan right now. All it has is the origin and destination. It doesn't have much. We're first going to set up our departure runway, which you do that by clicking the departure airport, that waypoint, and then you go to SID, Standard Instrument Departure. You don't have to use a SID, but that is how you tell it which runway you're going to use. We'll just use 18 right, and we are not going to use a SID, so you just go ahead and click Insert here.